Welcome back. This week on Shipwrecked, I'm going to introduce you guys to the car that's been under the cover. And it's got a problem. So I noticed the convertible top wanted to go down really slow and didn't want to come back up. While it was running too. Usually that's not the case. And at first I started diagnosing the pump because that just made sense, right? No, it's not the pump. It wasn't the fluid level, I don't think. But I discovered we have another problem. And that is, when it's running, I should be able to disconnect this battery without it killing the car. See? We got, yeah. Something's not going on right, and we've got to diagnose it. I've already pretty much narrowed it down, but I'm going to show you a little bit about a bad Mopar charging system and a good one. So let's get right into it. This is another 70 Dodge Polara convertible. It's turquoise. It's been under the cover. The back seat's out. We got a little bit of interior work to do. Like I said, I was really after the convertible top pump because initially that was what I first thought was the problem. However, as you can see, I took another video of it. It's not doing it at the moment. But sometimes this alternator throws some sparks. It's probably not good. That means it's not charging properly. Pretty original and untouched under here. But I noticed when I have the headlights on or any other power, it's got an electric fan rigged into the front. We're going to be remedying that. See, when we're not using too much juice, it stays running with the battery disconnected. So that tells me it's charging enough to energize the points and keep the ignition running. However, when you start wanting to run other stuff, like I just tried to, that's all I did right here was just try to turn the fan on that's rigged in here. Well, it's a little too much. See, I hooked the battery back up. Fan starts kicking on. So what that says, the alternator is not producing enough voltage to operate the power accessories in this vehicle. I have a meter. We're going to be able to hook it up and check and see exactly how much voltage this puppy's producing as is. And then I have another car, the red 71 Dodge Monaco Medina. Its charging system is just A1 perfect. And I'm going to show you how much voltage that one should be producing. And then we're going to see the real difference between the two. So let's get right into it. So the car is off. It's not running. I'm not drawing any juice off of the nothing. There's nothing on. Okay. And this is actually my timing light I bought. It's really cool. It's got all these different options, and we can see how many volts we got. We got sitting right at 12 volts with the car off. Let's start it up and see what we got going here. Now it's going to fire right up. Yeah, 13 volts. Okay. That tells us it's working. It's actually working rather well. Now let's see. Let's start turning stuff on. Got the fans on. 13.4. It's not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. Headlights. We're still keeping up. Okay. What can it produce without the battery's help, though? And actually, we are starting to dwindle here a little. The alternator can't do it. While it is charging the battery, I really think it's not. It should be about 13 to 14 volts. We were getting up there. We were getting into the mid-13s, but we didn't see 14 yet. And yeah, as soon as I disconnected it, 11.9. Lights are back on. It'll start back up now and run. Gauge on the dash shows it's charging. You can see it's moving around a little bit. Let's get some courtesy lights going. Trying to use some juice here to replicate maybe how much it would draw trying to use the top. That's the pump back there. I messed with it quite a bit and I haven't gotten any results. Here, let's do another thing. Shut the headlights off because they're a real sucker too. And I actually have a headlight conversion to do to this car. Still a little low. This should be about 14 volts. 13 and a half, 14 volts while it's running. So the output isn't there. Now let's turn this off. That jumped up pretty good. Volts. Okay. Alright, this is with the battery unhooked. So the alternator does do enough to keep it running. Turn this fan back on. Yep. So as soon as I really start trying to use any power, it shuts right off. Let's see what the other car does when I run these diagnostic tests. So here we've got the 71 Monaco. I got the timing light hooked up again. We're sitting right at 12.9 volts. It was at 13 a second ago. So we're going to start it up and we're going to start using some power here. We're going to leave the door open because it's got all these kick-ass lights. Start it up. You got the radio on. Gonna turn the lights on. Let's turn that on. We got the heats on over here. Let's turn the blower motor on high. Yeah, we're using some juice. I'll leave the door open. That way the buzzers are going too. They're using some juice. Sitting at 12.7. Okay. It's not bad. Let's give her a little rev. We are using a little bit of up here. Yeah, there we go. We're idled up a little bit. 13. Something like that. I think what you want to see is between 13 and 14 volts. I mean, you gotta see we're using all these lights. The interior lights are lit up. And the number is steady. It's gonna keep going up. See, 13.2. If you know, we use less and less. So here. Turn the lights off. Let's turn the radio off. Let's turn the heater off. Turn the rear defroster off. And we'll shut the door. Just let it run for a second. She got a nice exhaust note. It's a pretty good car. I've done a lot to this car. I really like what we've done with it so far, and it's come a long way. But it's really a great driving car. Oh yeah, now look. We're not using no juice. We're almost at 15 volts. That's much more than we were getting out of this one. Okay, that's just, you know, a good baseline to see that there's more output coming out of this one. Now the alternators could be different. You know, they could produce more amps. I want, you know, some are 60. I don't remember the exact amperage on this alternator that is in this car. We did replace it, and I don't know what that one would have had from the factory. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't know what, off the top of my head, what they are. But I know something's not right with the one in that car. It's becoming more and more apparent. So let's start using some juice again. Let's turn the lights on. Let's get the radio back on. Let's turn the heater on. Get this going. We'll leave the door open. So you can see we're still, now we're only down to 14.5, 14.6. But here's the real test. I'm going to cut the battery. And if the alternator is able to sustain all of this just for a second, because it's not really too good to put all of this on the alternator. But just to check, let's see what happens. 14.5 volts. Let's disconnect the battery. We're staying right at 13.5, 13.6, 13.5, consistent. That's what the alternator is able to put out to keep all of this stuff going. See, the car's running too. So that means the points are taking some juice. The headlights are taking juice. The interior lights are taking juice. Everything is sucking juice. And the alternator is keeping up with it. The alternator is able to produce enough output to maintain 13.5. I'm gonna hook the battery back up. Got a nice little lever on here. It's a cool thing. There's different styles of these. I'm not really a fan of this one, but it works, it does the job, and it's easy. You just pull the lever off and it kills the battery. Jumped right back up to 14.9, 15 volts. So what that goes to show is, without the battery's help, that alternator is not up to the task of operating power accessories in this vehicle. I want to say what you need to be able to see is a consistent output from the alternator between 13 and 14 volts. Gonna get ready to pull that off. I think all you're gonna need to do this job, if you've never pulled the alternator off of your big block Mopar, small block Mopar, if you've never done this, it's really easy. I think anybody can do it. You need a 9/16, a 1/2 inch, and a 7/16 with the deep well socket. This will be to get the black power wire off of the back of the alternator. This one's for the adjustment bolt up here. And then this lower one right here, the adjuster, is the 1/2 inch. So, pretty basic, straightforward job to pull one of these off. First thing you want to do, I didn't show this on camera, is make sure you disconnect the battery. Otherwise, you might get a little, you might feel it a little. I like to loosen this top pivot bolt first. And you got to be careful because there is spacers back here behind the alternator. So I like to pull this one off first. Or at least loosen it up all the way. See, this is a little holder for the heater hoses. This is a factory non-AC car, so it has just heater hoses, no AC compressor in the way, which is nice. Go. Pull the spacer out, and actually I dropped the other one, but it didn't fall to the ground, which is good. I like when they don't fall all the way to the ground. It's always nice. I like to put them back on the bolt they go to. You take your 1/2 inch and you loosen this lower one. I like using the ratcheting wrenches on this job. Makes the job really easy. You could use regular, sockets and stuff. I've just grown accustomed to using the ratcheting wrenches. Probably one of the best inventions in the history of these tools, except for my Milwaukee Impact is just great. That bolt. Now the whole thing's just kind of loose, laying there. Let's pull the belt off, pull the alternator here, and then you got a couple wires to disconnect. Your field wires, green one. Come on, get out of there. There's one, you got your blue one. And then you got your power wire. It's got these nice little clippies here to hold the wire nice. Pull that off. And grab your 7/16. Loosen that one. Actually, I'm going to be able to just use the socket. And you pull it off, just like that. I like to put this back on here. That way I know where it's at. I really don't like losing any of these bolts. Not like I don't have a whole bucket full of them, but I've just gotten in the habit of always putting stuff back where it came from. And that's how easy it is to take off. One thing I am going to do while we're here, see, we got a plastic fuel filter. I'm going to take this puppy and put it right back where it belongs to. That way, we don't have to worry about any of this stuff vanishing. And that's how simple it is. It's the back of your typical round back. And so you got two fields, then your main power. You got your part number here. Looks like this is the original alternator. You see you got a 69 in there. 3438201-7. I have to look it up. I don't know that part number offhand. But judging by the fact that that says it's was casted in 69, you see that right there? Well, that tells me this is the car's original alternator, and it just makes sense to have this rebuilt. So that's what we're going to do. So there you have it. I was asked to cover a little bit of charging systems. I had a charging issue of my own that needed to be handled. So I decided to make this video about it. We're going to get this thing rebuilt by Forest City Auto Electric. We're going to try them out for the first time. It sounds like I'm going to be very happy with what they got. So I got it off. I'm going to drop it off this week. What I want you guys to do in the meantime is to like, subscribe, share, and stay tuned for another episode of Shipwrecked Mopars. Thanks, you guys have a good one. I will see you next time. Really quick, I need to do an update on Will It Run. The day after the day I took the initial video, I started messing with it just a little further off camera. And I tried to turn the ignition. I put a tumbler in it and tried to turn the ignition into the start run position. And I heard some sizzling. And it just wasn't good. I ended up pulling like the vent, where the vent poles are. I ripped that off the dash. I mean, it was already busted anyway. I ripped it out of the way, and I seen that I started to melt the wires that go from the steering column into the wiring harness, into the dash harness. So, and then it really hit me. I'm in the back corner of my shop. If this puppy goes up, and I can't stop it, I'm gonna lose my shop. Like, we're gonna lose the shop. Like they talk about in all the Discovery stuff, but for real. So what I have to do is this one tire won't hold air. I'll have to change the rims, or at least the one rim. I'm going to get it into a better spot in the shop, and then we'll proceed from there. My starter adapter terminals are here. I have plugs. I have wires. I pretty much have everything I think we're going to need to get it running. I got a distributor from a 67 440. It's got good points in it. Should be able to drop that puppy right in. We're going to make it run. It's going to happen. I just want to let you guys know why there hasn't been a part 2 yet. And that's why. Because I don't want to burn the shop down. I don't want to lose the parts car. Don't want to, none of these things can happen. So that's where we're at on Will It Run. Stay tuned.